back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, I am here today to do a very exciting review because this is one of my SBFBO books that I have been reading for the SBFBO competition. If you don't know about it, please check the link down below and that explains everything. And I've also done some previous reviews already on my channel, so feel free to check those out as well. This is about one of the books in my batch, which is called A Heart of Bones by Lily C. Strauss. And this one is a kind of ghost-led story, I suppose. We are following a young mage who has chosen to be estranged from most of his kind. He kind of just wants to live day by day and get by in his life and not really attract the attention to himself that he has in the past. He has been mixed up a little bit with the law in the past, and he kind of wants to lay low. He doesn't really want to get into any more trouble, and he doesn't really want to get onto anyone's radar. So he's doing his best to just stay out of the way. However, when magic and ghost plots just kind of turn up on his doorstep one day, Jack, doesn't really have an awful lot of choice about whether he gets involved or not. And there is a slightly bullish, but of course very handsome young man who is a detective called Richard, and he has come to his door and basically almost bullied him into kind of participating in an adventure and finding out the mystery of what has gone on when his partner has been killed. So there is this story that Jack kind of just gets forced into right at the very beginning of the book, and we go from there. I feel like the story for this one, the plot kind of starts off at a really good clip. You get straight into the action, you get to know Jack really quickly, and you kind of get thrown right away, like him, into the story of, okay, what has gone on and what are we investigating and why am I involved? I felt like there were never times where I was feeling it was particularly dull or boring. It always felt like everything kind of happened for a reason and it was never padded out. It was quite fast paced. I did feel even at times that maybe it was a little bit light on description and it could have potentially had a little bit more going on. But I think the priority seemed to be the plot and the action and what the characters were getting up to for this story. So what did I like about this book? A couple of things I really enjoyed. The action and the fast pacing meant that you get into the story so quick and you're just enjoying yourself reading it, which was always good. The magic in the world is really interesting. It's explained that there are lots of different kind of types and ways that it works, and it varies between person to person and also between sort of your heritage, and what power you get is associated to what house you were born into, and then kind of developing your skill set within your house is quite a common thing. However, obviously our main character is estranged from his house and he comes from a line of magicians who can get up to some mischief, let's say. So it was interesting to kind of hear his story and then relate it and compare it to some of the other houses that we meet in the book. The ghosts, that was something I don't typically look for in books. I'm not hugely into ghost stories. It's not something I typically seek out, but I don't mind them if they're done well. And I just thought that it was interesting the way that the ghosts in this story interact with the human characters, and the way that they kind of were not so creepy as they were helpful in ways. So it was quite an interesting balance between the two types of people in the book. Things that I don't think worked quite as well for me particularly was the character development. Because it is so fast paced, I just didn't feel like there was an awful lot of characterization going on, and I felt like I got to know Jack a little bit, I got to know Richard a little bit, but I didn't feel genuinely attached to them at any point. And so they go through some things that, you know, normally if it was your friend or a character you loved going through, you would be worried, but I wasn't particularly worried because I wasn't hugely invested in them as characters, and I was just kind of following their adventure rather than really living it by their side, if that makes sense. I also felt like the relationship between Jack and Richard, which I'm pleased to see an LGBT relationship, but I don't think it was necessarily developed in a way that I felt that comfortable with. I didn't feel as though they were super genuine in the way that they developed their feelings for one another, and I would have liked to just see a little bit more inner reflection, maybe some development of how they started to come that way. It feels like they go from kind of looking at each other thinking that the other one's quite hot but hating them to very quickly being in a relationship together, which for me just didn't feel that realistic. I know there are like enemies to lovers, frenemies to lovers. I don't know what you would call these two because I don't think they start off as enemies, but I think they're more partners who were unwillingly assigned to one another and then they fall in love. Yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily done in the best way for me personally. However, with that being said, I didn't think it was a particularly awful romance between them. I didn't feel like it was that believable either. Overall, I had fun with this book. I enjoyed it. I think the writing is strong and solid, but I don't know how memorable it's going to be to me. I feel like it's already one that isn't sticking in my mind as clearly as some of the others. And I just think personally, it's not my usual style to read an awful lot of urban mystery fantasies. It's just something I tend to forget more easily. And so I gave this one a solid 3 stars, which equates to 6 out of 10 for SBFBO. But I don't think personally that it really is going to be retained for me. So again, I don't think this one makes a semi-finalist spot for me, but I did enjoy it and I would recommend it if you are looking for a ghost fantasy story, especially if it's like a crime, urban-y fantasy side of things that you like to read, then this would tick all those boxes. And I do think the author is worth watching because I think the writing was strong, as I say. So I don't think there's a book 2 out yet. I'm not sure if I would read it personally, but I do hope to hear that you guys have picked this up and that you are liking it. So please let me know if that is the case for you in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye everyone.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.